Hey, yoga teacher. How do you create an experiential and engaging yoga workshop for your students so they keep coming back time and time again? That's what we're talking about today. And now that you've planned your workshop content, you are ready to create an engaging experience for your students. The first step in creating this engaging workshop is to sequence your content. Just like every good yoga class has a sequence, every good yoga workshop also follows a sequence. So we start with the beginning of the workshop. And at the beginning of the workshop, you'll want to set the scene, just like you do in a normal yoga class. Introduce yourself, introduce the objective and the topic. Make it brief. It doesn't have to be long. From here, you may want to move into group introductions, into lecture. Maybe you want to move into a yoga class. You can choose whatever beginning that you'd like, but don't forget this important beginning piece. From here, you move into the heart of the workshop. And the heart of the workshop includes three things: the lecture, the experience, and the discussion. With the lecture, this is when you talk about the objective. You introduce the topic, you talk about what it is, how it works, and all of those fun details. Lecture doesn't have to be boring, but it also shouldn't take up the entire workshop time. So make sure you balance your time with lecture and experience. So next is the experience, and this is where the real magic happens because most people learn best through experience. And there's lots of ways to include experiences in your workshop, and we're going to talk about them in just a moment. Now, finally, it's the discussion. The last piece of the heart of the workshop is the discussion. And this is a time for the students to ask questions and share their experience. And I believe that this is a really important piece, and it's what makes a workshop different than a yoga class. I find that the discussion is best at the end of each experience because often people have something that comes up during an experience and they want to talk about it. They have questions about a breathing technique, or they have questions about how they can use this in their lives. And they want to know if their experience was normal. And I think it's really important that we give people time to process the information and to ask questions within the workshop. So don't skip the discussion. For a lot of teachers, this can be a really scary moment. I mean, what happens if someone asks a question and you don't know the answer? It's going to be okay. Don't skip this discussion piece because of that fear. Now, next, after you've gotten through the heart of the workshop, we're going to wrap things up and you'll end the workshop. And this is just closing with any kind of final remarks, pieces of advice, a Q&A session, just a way to pull the energy of the room back together, and maybe end with a final Om, breathing practice, meditation, Shavasana, whatever, just to pull that energy back together. And finally, at the end of your workshop, add some time in for feedback and testimonials. You really want to make sure that you capture testimonials and people's feedback. So make sure you include a way for people to work with you in the future. Add all of this information into the time, because if you don't, I found people leave and they never give you that testimonial or feedback. So just include 5 or 10 minutes at the end of class, and always make sure that you're available for discussions at the end of the workshop as well. Here's a basic workshop sequence. There's lots of great ways to create a good workshop sequence, but I find the above method provides the best results. I can provide a lot of streamlined and focused information. My students stay engaged and active, and we're able to integrate the information through discussion. Choose experiences for each workshop objective. This is the fun part. There are lots of different ways to add experiences in your workshop. Here's some examples: yoga classes, quizzes, partner work, group discussion, meditation, pranayama, mudra practices, teaching practice if you're working with yoga teachers, fill in the blank worksheet, self-inquiry. The options are endless, y'all. So look through your workshop and choose what experiences you want to provide for each workshop objective. Here's my example for my Ayurveda for Yoga Teachers workshop. Now, I want you to set your timing. Experiences can take quite a bit of time, but I promise it's completely worth it. However, we do need to set some boundaries with our time to ensure that we stay on task, we cover all the information, and we honor the time of our students as well. So I suggest limiting your discussion to only about 5 to 15 minutes per experience. I found that people, once they start talking, they really like to talk. And sometimes our discussion time can take 30 or 45 minutes. So try and limit this time to only 5 to 15 minutes, okay? Now, here's my Ayurveda for Yoga Teachers example. You'll see that I've structured it in a way that I have lots of lecture time, I have my experience, and then we have the sharing time. And each sharing time is only about 15 minutes. Now, this is for a really long workshop. So maybe your workshop's going to be a bit shorter. That's fine. Now that you've created your workshop sequence, you know the experiences to include, you can start building your worksheets from here. And worksheets aren't required, but I like to provide worksheets because it helps keep me on track. So I at least create a worksheet for myself to help me stay on topic, and I suggest that you do the same. Plus, I like providing worksheets for my students because it's nice to have some kind of handout for your students so they can take notes. But don't worry, you don't have to provide a worksheet. But I would make sure that you come into that workshop with some kind of contact information, something that you can hand them so they can reach out to you with any questions or maybe future opportunities to work with you. All right, so that's how I like to plan my workshops so we create a great experience. How is your workshop planning coming? Are you feeling stuck, trying to think of experiences? Do you want someone to look over your information? Set up a consultation call and I can definitely help you brainstorm and provide some of my feedback. All right, thanks y'all.